Hi guys! Today I'm going to use the October scrapbook kit from Citrus Twist. So it's got a few bulkier elements in it. So instead of doing a regular traveler's notebook, I am going to add a page to my traveler's notebook mini book. So I am just flicking through some of the papers in the kit to match my full page photo. So as much as I loved some of the other florals in there, I really want the focus to be on the florals in the photo. So instead I've chosen this rather neutral paper to go with it. Now, one of my tips for these sorts of mini book albums is to make yourself a page template. I've got a page there that I've cut out. It's just some scrap paper that's the right size and has the holes in the right place. So that way you can go ahead and trim down your pages to fit. They're always going to be the right size, and you can make sure that you're getting your holes punched in the right place every time. Now, I often punch my holes at the start of the page rather than the end so that I can make sure I'm not adding embellishments where the holes are going to be. Now, I really love that scallop design in the paper, and I just was trying to work out whether to have it at the top or the bottom. So I decided to cut out my embellishments for the right hand side first, which was a couple of those little banners from the banner paper in the kit. I just picked out two that I thought sort of work as a title for my page, although I end up giving it another title later on anyway. And there's a bit of clear space. Well, it's not really clear, but there's a bit of a hole at the bottom of that page where those banners are going to sit. So I thought I would do the rest of my page sort of on the top left and then a piece on the bottom right, and that just gives it a bit of balance. I love these Amy Tangerine puffy hearts, and I wasn't sure how I was going to go ahead and attach them, but it turns out you can staple them no problem. They don't lose any of their puffiness when I put a staple through them, so that worked out nicely. Now, mostly I was looking through that ephemera pack to see if there was anything in this kind of peachy pinky colorways to match those little hearts, and happily enough I found the word hooray. So this photo was taken at my cousin's wedding. It was probably one of the first nicest spring days that we had, so hooray definitely suited the page. Now, I've done this off camera, but I have fussy cut out one of these floral pieces from that other pattern paper, again because it had that peachy pink color in it, and that's what I'm trying to use to tie the page together. I also fussy cut out one of these circles. I'm not super fond of that pattern, but it had the right color flowers in it, so I tried to cut that circle out, but I ended up not using it. It didn't bring enough color, so instead I grabbed a scallop die and I just cut out a circle of this pretty blue paper, because I'm sort of trying to tie in the blues and the pinks from my photo onto this more neutral side of my page. So I'm going to create a cluster at the top here. It's basically done, except it sort of needed a bit more emphasis. So I cut out again from that same pattern paper, that was just the scraps that was left over from my original fussy cut piece, a couple of those leaves, which is actually in a navy blue, so that just adds a bit more of a pop to that page. I used a pencil to mark out roughly where my title is going to go, so that I could run that whole piece just straight through my typewriter. So I was very pleased that I had managed to remember to do that before I started sticking stuff down, and it typed through no problem at all. Now I'm going to go ahead and start sticking stuff down, but I want to give this page a little bit of dimension, and I can do that because I'm putting it in this mini book rather than my album. So I am using some foam squares to pop up this hooray piece, an assortment of different sizes, and to make sure I catch that Y, I'm just cutting some of those foam squares in half so that I can stick it all down around my journaling there, and then I can add my little layered pieces underneath there. Again, I'm going to add this puffy heart with a tiny attacher just straight through the middle. I figured that was the best way to attach it, and as soon as I went to go and glue down my fussy cut piece, I of course ripped off that tiny little leaf, so it could easily be glued back together, but I was kind of annoyed. gonna add these two little leaves back in, and then that's basically my cluster done. But I did feel like it was a little bit flat, so what I'm doing is just going around all of these pieces that I've glued down, and I have glued them down rather heavily. They're not going to be protected in any way in this mini book, so each piece has quite a lot of glue on it. So I'm just running my fingernail or my finger and bending up the edges of it just to give it a little bit of dimension. And it is harder to see on camera than it is in real life, but it really does pop off the page quite a lot. Now I'm going to again staple this puffy heart down, and I'm just slipping that banner in underneath just to get it in the right place, and then add a little bit of glue. I end up cutting both tails on this side so that I can add this with foam dots as well, so that it sort of equals up that raisedness, is that a word? It is now, on both sides. So I've got a bit of dimension on both sides of the page. Now there were puffy stickers in the kit too, so I couldn't resist adding a few little hearts, and luckily there were a couple of blue ones, so that ties in that blue a bit more onto the left hand side as well, and I think that balances out the page really nicely. I love these albums because you can add that extra bit of dimension. I try to avoid that sort of thing in my regular traveler's notebooks, so this is the perfect solution. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there's a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye!